Welcome back. Are you excited to paint this one? Because I know I am. I've been wanting to paint this one for a while now, and I think today is the day. So it's been really cool to see everybody's paintings, and it's been everybody that's been following me through this process, the one painting a day. If you're not able to paint one painting a day, don't worry about it. Just paint what you can. If it's once a week, once a month, and the only thing is just remember to paint. And you're going to definitely see an improvement because I know I have. I studied at the university and I've been painting for many years. And by doing this and painting every day and doing this program, I myself have seen that I've definitely improved. So whatever you can, whenever you can, get out your stuff and paint. And before you know it, you'll be really, really super good and you'll be able to define those little edges and just get a little bit better. So here what I've done is I've started with the white. Now I'm going to use this, I'm priming the canvas, yes, but I'm going to use this white and it's going to be really cool because it's going to blend in with my sky and make my sky extra skyy. We're going to do clouds and stuff, and I like to have a nice little base on before I go and do everything else. So I went ahead and just put that on the canvas. I am trying to kind of work a little fast because it is with acrylics. I'm going to go ahead and instead of adding the blue on the canvas, I'm going to add it on my plate. Just a little bit. I don't really need a lot for this one. And I didn't really wash the brush. I wiped out some of the excess because I noticed I put a little bit too much on my canvas, but that's okay. It'll all work out. So I got a little bit on my brush. And I'm going to start in one area and then sweep it back and forth many times, but not overdoing it. The more you overdo it, the more it's not going to work good. So start at the top, and I've got my, how I like to paint my edges here to make all my paintings kind of similar. I got some on the sides. Okay, there, got that situated. I'm going to get more paint, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to blend. Now, I'm not going to do this too many times. I'm just doing it enough to really get it in there. See what I'm doing? Just a little bit. The more that you mess with it, the more blended it's going to get, and that can be cool, but that's not really the look that I'm choosing to go with. So I'm just going to not really hardly at all. And you see how it's picking up that white and it's kind of blending as I go? Now I do want to try to make sure that my lines are all the way straight and that they're just doing their thing. Now I do like to have my bottom part a little bit lighter because of the glow of the horizon. So less is more. Some blue is okay, I just don't want a lot. So I think that's good. I got a little bit lightness, I got some darkness. I'm going to go ahead, wash my brush. And for right now, I'm going to dry this because I'm going to put my clouds on next. And I really need it to be super dry, otherwise my clouds just are not, they're going to blend too much. So you're gonna notice that the shine is still kind of there. It's not really picking it up too well on the camera, but here in live I can actually see where there's a ton of shine, so it still needs a little bit more in the dryer. Yeah, so there, I'm kind of liking that. It's a little dry. Yep, it's dry. I mean, there's a little bubble right here, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go with a smaller brush. I'm going to go with a little squarey guy. Now you can use whatever brush you want. I just happen to like this square. I think it works better. I'm going to put some white on my palette. Now remember what I keep telling you guys is keep your palette clean, because I want to still use my palette, come back and use colors, and I just like to have the idea that I can still come back, and if I need to mix colors, I have space to do that. Okay, so now I'm just going to make some random clouds wherever I like. Clouds are easy and hard and just whatever you want them to be. So I do try to make it a purpose that my clouds are all unique with their own personality. So I have a little bit of paint on the brush. And I'm going to take this time in any place that I don't like, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling that there, then that's where I do the cloud. But I like to start at the top and work my way down. Also, the clouds that are at the top tend to be thicker than the clouds at the bottom. Now, I don't want to put too many clouds, because if I put too many clouds, then it's like, I like one here. It's just too much. I don't want to hide all the pretty parts of the sky. I mean, I'm not liking this bit. Don't like that. Do feel like I should cover that, but I kind of want to cover that more. But then it's darker. Let's go here. So what I like to do is the little circles and just really just squishes, you know? I do it till my paint kind of runs out, really, and that's how long my cloud is. Come back, pick up some more paint, and blend it down. Do you see how I'm blending down the small parts? Blend, blend, blend. The more you blend, the better they're going to look. So now the clouds, the magic in the clouds is overlapping. The more that you overlap, the cooler these things get. I'm going to cover that. And then blending. So blending is important because it helps you to overlap things. Ooh, oh, I messed that one up. Oh no, it's okay. We'll just, before it dries, we'll wipe it off the canvas and pretend it never happened. Yep. Okay. Let that dry for a minute. Come back over here. And yeah. And blend, blend, blend. There we go. Whereas, let's pick some space. We'll do one right here. Now, really, honestly, with clouds, you just kind of got to do it. I mean, there are many videos, many people out there trying to teach it and stuff, which I'm trying to do right now. And yeah, everybody has a point, but you're never really going to learn how to do a cloud unless you just sit down and do it. I mean, that's how I learned. I just sat down and did it. You know, just continue with the paint. I'm kind of going in oval type patterns. And one of the things I'm trying to do is to remember to blend the bottom part. Blending, that's the key. Blend, blend, blend. It's coming. So let's put another one. Meow. Now, clouds do appear more poppy and stand out a lot if your background is really dark blue. But I really wanted to have a really wispiness of the clouds. So I chose to make it a lighter blue. So, yeah. Come back here with some highlights. The problem is when you do this and then you gotta blend, it's hard because, yeah, it's just like it's hard. Take some paint off. Ooh, I wiped my pretty cloud. I wiped it. There we go. Just wipe it off before it dries. Come back and then blend it back in. It's always good to do the top of the clouds first before you start working down here, because then see how it's having a hard time to blend. Okay. So far so good. I'm liking it. Let's give some little highlights there. Hey, do you see how they're building on each other? I'm not going to make this guy blend a whole lot. You should let them blend, but sometimes you just kind of got to let them have their little highlights. And I'm feeling like those highlights are pretty good. So you just keep working and working. We're going to do one more, and I'll do it right here in the middle. That way I'm not 2 and 2, you know, 3 and 3. Like, I'm trying to vary these clouds. So basically our beach is going to have a nice summery day, and these clouds are more like off in the distance. Try to make sure that each cloud has its own little look. They all have their own little, like, even though, yeah, I'm making circles, I'm moving my hand across everywhere. Yeah, it's blending. The blending is the key to be like, wow, you painted that? Yeah, of course I painted that. This cloud is kind of going off to the side a little, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit just to make it appear that, you know, keep the painting going around the edge. I like doing, oh, I got blue. I don't want any blue on my brush. My sides weren't all the way dry. Just wipe that off. And then just blend it. And you see how they're kind of like one's in front of the other? And they're just kind of happening. I got some more blue. What I don't want is sharp edges. So like right here you can see there's a line. I'm going to blend that out. I don't want the sharp edges. But I do want distinctive colors between the white and the black and the blue. I want it to stand out. I'm going to leave that. I think it looks good. It's working. You know, we are going to overlap. So I want it to be very basic in the background. So now I'm going to go ahead and dry it fully so I can go on to the next step. Okay, so now from here we can do one of two things. We can do the water or we can do the beach. I'm going to go ahead and do the water. So I have the blue, and I do want my sky and my water to look different. So because of that and to have the distinctive look, I'm going to add lots of blue. Now it's okay that we're painting over here and stuff because we're going to cover it up. It'll be fine. I'm gonna paint, try to keep this in a straight line. Doesn't have to be too perfect of a line, but we do want the water to appear that it's in the far, far distance. So because of that, we're not gonna see a whole lot of wave effect because our horizon's gonna be like really far away. That works. Okay, so now that I've got the paint kind of generally on there, make sure I got to paint the sides. I always like to do that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, instead of going sideways, I'm going to turn my brush and go make skinny little lines. Now do you see how it's making like marks? Making cool, fun marks. Some are lighter, some are darker. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. I'm trying to make it as random as possible and the cohesiveness that it's all the same kind of marks. Oh, just gonna work that. Just get them marks everywhere. So then it's gonna appear, we're gonna build the waves. So it's gonna appear to happen. Now from here, I'm gonna go ahead and I wanna add a little turquoise into my water. Well, I mean, you don't really have to. Do we want to? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's add a little bit just to make it stand out. So I don't need a whole lot. Just enough for little highlights like the water. Like there's the highlights in the water. See what I'm doing? I'm just going to slowly add them, and the idea is to be as sporadic as you can. So it's kind of making the water a little greenish, which would be beaches more like in the north of the United States. A little color in there. You can go back in if you think you have too much green and go back in and touch that up. It is nice to give texture in color. It makes things seem a little bit more real and less cartoonish if you add extra colors versus if you're just staying with the like your three colors, you know. It just gives more dimension. Oops, I forgot to add some greens on the side, which I kind of should add just a couple to continue the path so it makes sense. Now I'm kind of just going with this as I go. I don't really have anything that I'm referencing. It's just kind of coming out of my mind. So, I mean, it's the gist of the idea. I mean, how are you going to do the ocean? There's only so many ways, right? There's water, there's sky. But I'm just kind of making it up as I go. So, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to write them in the comments. I check my messages literally every single day, usually in the mornings. So if you have a question, write it down. I'll get back to you right away. I am trying to go live, but the YouTube algorithm, they require that you have 1,000 subscribers. And at the time of me filming this, I don't have 1,000 subscribers yet. So because of that, I can't go live. So if I was able to go live, then I could answer your questions right then and there. You know, you can paint with me. But that'll be coming pretty soon here. I mean, I'm painting one painting a day. So eventually it's going to happen. Also, if you haven't subscribed, I recommend that you do that. Because that way you can like find me easier. So the next time you want to paint and you have ideas and stuff and just don't want to be painting alone and you want somebody to hang out with, just subscribe so you can find my videos easily. And it also kind of helps me in the YouTube algorithm so I can go live in the future by having enough subscribers. So that's a really big help for me. Okay, so I need to allow this to dry completely fully before I do my next step, because if I don't, what's going to happen is I'm going to start turning this painting black, and I don't really want to add black right now at this moment. So you don't have to touch your painting and get little fingerprints all up in there and move the paint around. One of the ways you can tell that your paint is all the way dry is by it's not shiny anymore. Now the camera doesn't pick it up really great, but I can see that I have a little bit of shiny, but that's all right. We'll move on. Okay, so I'm going to start with some really dark brown. Doesn't need a whole lot, just a little. I like to paint little paintings because since I paint one a day, if I have little paintings, it's a more attainable goal than having a huge canvas to work with. I'm going to go in here with a little bit lighter of a brown, and that's just going to serve as a highlight. I'm going to go with my little square guy, and I'm going to start making the beach and the island. It really doesn't matter where you start first. I'm going to color block it out first, and then I'm going to go extra. So color blocking this, I'm going to go down here, color block all of it. And then I'm also going to want a little island. And he's going to be so super simple. Just a little line, because it's a little line. And that works for now. Make him come out. I'm also going to remember to go around the edge. Now, one of the reasons why I like painting the edges is because it makes the painting appear finished. Sometimes if I don't want to finish my painting on the canvas and have it like it's happily unfinished look, then I won't paint the sides. I have in the past painted the painting, and then at the end just painted black all the way around the edges. Now by doing that, I recommend using a square brush and taking your time and breathing while you do it, because what happens is it gets wobbly in there. And I'm sure you've seen by a couple of my early pieces that I made way back when, I was a little wobbly. Okay, so I'm gonna glob this painting on rather thickly, but not too super thick, but yeah, kind of thick. The reason why I'm doing that is because if the camera doesn't pick it up super well, but what's happening is there's really dark areas and there's lighter areas. So it's like it's applying paint and it's also kind of removing as it's applying. So some locations of the sand are a little bit lighter, because the more tones you have, the more interesting this piece is going to look. So you notice how I'm not really going over it a whole lot. I'm allowing time to dry. Make sure I go on the edges just so it's a cohesive unit. Okay. While I'm waiting for all this to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do over here. So I hope that you're having a good time. I've been really enjoying this process. It's been so cool to see everybody's paintings. I mean, wow. I mean, I can definitely see some of you have actually also improved like a whole bunch. Like I totally see just by the act of doing it every day, you guys have been getting really a lot better. Pretty impressed. Very impressed. And it's kind of cool to see the little ones too. Shout out to you guys. Yeah, you're never going to be good at something if you don't try and you don't practice and you don't work at it. I hope that this painting, when you're done with it, it's going to be a showpiece, like one that you're going to want to put in your living room or give to a special somebody and be like proud and be like, yeah, I totally am the one that painted that. That was me. So also, I used to live in Florida like a long time ago. And since I wasn't born there and, you know, I wasn't really a tourist, I took the time to enjoy the fact that I was there. And so I went to the beach quite frequently. And just throughout my art journey, I've noticed, like today, my husband was driving and I was staring at the clouds today. He thought I was being really awkward and weird in the car, but no, they looked interesting. So I was all trying to be like, so that's how clouds look. And so the next time you're at the beach, take your painting supplies. And if you don't have your painting supplies and it's just not, you know, it's just not working, you don't have the opportunity, take a moment, just sit down and stare at it. It's always nice if you have someone to talk to, but oftentimes they look at me like I'm weird. You know, it's just like, what colors do you see? How is the shape? Because yeah, okay, we all know what the sand looks like. I'm hoping that pretty much everybody that's watching this video has at some point been to the beach. In my little tiny town, there's surprisingly a few people that that's not a thing that they've done. That's pretty sad. Now, I always do like to start with the darker color first. I think that starting with a darker color and then working lighter, it just seems to work. And then with the sand, I like to go back into the darker color at the end, but I don't usually do that for other things, just mostly sand. It's a very rare situation that I'd go back into the darker. But anyway, so we got that pretty much good. I like it. I'm gonna wash out my brush. I recommend changing your water if it goes black, it's gray, and it's really dark tones in your water. Please change it. Also, for longevity of your brushes, I recommend not just sitting your brushes in there. Now, I buy my stuff in bulk because, you know, I paint like all the time. So because of that, the cost for me is kind of a little bit more minimal. But, so you'll see me sometimes that I'll leave my brushes in water, but I usually only do that if my brushes are pretty old and I've used them several times. Like I've used these ones today. This guy's got like 10 paintings in. I just took care of him and cleaned him up and was pretty. This guy, he's about 4 paintings in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dry this because what's going to happen is it's going to smear a lot. And I want blending, but I want blending because I put it there versus it blending on the canvas. So, as you notice, because I kind of glopped it on, it took a little bit more time to dry. That's okay. If you need more time, don't worry about trying to stay with me. If you need more time, pause the video, rewind. It's okay. It's all good. It's going rather quickly for me because I'm painting on an 8x10 canvas. So I'm going to go in my lighter color here, and I'm going to add little doots of highlights. Just little ones, little duties. Yep. Doot. Yep. Just a little bit to be like, hey, I'm here. Oh, I got too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit to get it off my brush. And then I'm going to come back over here and there we go. That works. Now I don't want it, the trick with sand is don't go over it. Like just put the paint down, let it be what it is. I'm trying to cover up all the little areas that I see blue and white that's underneath that haven't been covered. So now with sand, I recommend, oh, I should have put more dark. Oh, I kind of wanted a hill and a hill. We'll go back over that. So sand is like you build it up. I'm going to go back into the dark here and just a little bit. There we go. See how I blended too much? You don't want to go back over things. You just, there it is, you know? I'm fabulous and I'm here. And we just want to leave that to be what it is, right? Okay, good. So I'm going to wipe off that dark color. I'm going to go back. Now I'm using better quality paint. So because it's a better quality paint, I don't need to add water to it because it's already, the pigment is a good quality. Now when you have cheaper paint, sometimes you do if you want it to be more fluid. Right now for this technique that I'm doing at this moment, I want my paint to be very thick. I like the thicker paint when it comes to sand because I'm not really trying to be fluid with the blending here. I'm just trying to let it happen and I'm going to build onto it. This is kind of my way of doing hair a little bit, is the idea of just adding the paint versus blending the paint. And then when it comes to skin, I want my paint to be really fluid. You can add gessos. There's lots of different mediums that you can add in there. I really don't with acrylics just because it's not, I mean, they cost more, but if you use your paint right and you're, you know, it's not really humid in here. It's not super dry. It's about 70 degrees. I'm right now in my office at my house. I turned a bedroom into a painting studio. So the climate in here is pretty good. So I'm not really worrying about a lot. Now, as you can see, it's looking pretty bad, right? Okay, if it takes a moment, like you build into it, right? So I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. And I'm going to add a third layer of brown. I'm going to leave this right now because what happens is it's off in the distance and it's really dark back there. And when things are really far away, they're kind of a little bit more blurry. So because it's a little bit more blurry, then it's like, I don't really see it, right? It's just, it's too blurry for me. I'm adding another one, another little brown that's kind of in the middle, which is probably the one I should have started with because I'm feeling like this canvas, the sand is really dark. I did, as a child, was very fortunate enough to be able to go to Hawaii several times. And we went to many different little beaches. And in Hawaii, there was an area that we went to, and the sand was black, which was totally, like, super cool. I was really into it. So I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you see, it's almost like I'm adding freckles. The idea of just, you know, little blotches, and eventually those blotches are it's going to work out. You just have to work at it. A little bit, this is kind of similar to the technique of making like a wicker basket. Pretty much anything wicker is this, but instead of doing little lines, I would square my brush and do straight little squares. And depending on how the wicker was, like, it would depend the brush of the size of the brush, but that's usually how I do that. So we're just adding away. Still feeling like this sand is a little dark. It's feeling a little bit like it's just a bunch of wood. This is a similar technique also for wood. Kind of similar, a little different, but same basic gist with the colors. That's the colors that I use. Okay, so we're gonna lighten this up because I just feel like it's too dark. I'm gonna leave that be what it is. So the way that we lighten the paint, and the reason why I said to be very careful with your palette so you have places to blend with. So I'm going to clean my brush really good. I'm going to go into my white, take a chunk of my white, and then it would be the best probably if I went with this one to lighten it up, because they're the darkest. This is the easiest to get to. So I'm take a little bit and I'm gonna blend it in. Now I hardly had any brown, so I'm just gonna go ahead and mix the whole thing because I hardly had any brown. And so it's better to add paint than take it away, especially when you're trying to count costs and money and whatnot. Now this is turning more into a very light skin color, which is pretty cool. Just work it in. When you are blending, I recommend to really take a moment and actually mix well, so that way we don't have streaks and lines of the former brown and the lighter brown. Yeah, I'm liking this better. How about that? It lightens it up. Yeah, I should have done that to begin with. There we go. Live and learn. See, this is why we're doing this. We are doing this exercise. Oh, it blended. We are doing this exercise because this is what we're doing. We're practicing. We're working on it. And, you know, hey, if we come out with some really cool paintings in the end, how cool. How awesome. I have sold quite a few pieces of different paintings that I've done for this, I'm doing a 365-day challenge. So yeah, I've sold quite a few, and it's kind of cool. It's like selling your homework. My goal is really to make really cool paintings that I love for me, and then if the painting isn't and it's all right, then I'll sell it. I try to keep the best ones for me so I can have them for my portfolio, because I am still trying to build a business, and so at this time I kind of need them so that I can have them on my walls at my studio while I have one in town. But like I need them to be there. Like I need prototypes. So at this point I'm trying to really do that. And that's another reason why I kind of came up with this, is because I need all them prototypes to show my students, because we're going to paint this, and then it's good to have something to like at the end to look at. So I do have a hard time with selling some of my pieces because I really do enjoy painting, and they're like my little babies, and I put all my effort into them. I'm going to go ahead and dry it, and then we're going to lighten it a little bit more. It's going to come together so cool, and it's going to look like tons of little footprints. It'll be great. Okay, slowly but surely it's coming. I hope you're having fun. If you're not having fun, what are you doing? Don't stop painting. If this is not fun, stop painting. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to add some more white. I'm going to go back in here and lighten it up. Now, normally I would keep a little bit of the original color so I could go back. However, I hardly have a little bit of, I only put so much paint, just a little tiny bit of paint. So, it's okay. I'll make more if I need it. Oh, that's good. It's getting there a little lighter. I don't feel like it's a whole lot lighter though. There we go. Maybe that'll work. Also, when you're mixing, don't go too big because you don't need like a whole pint of fluid on your palette. So this is, you add as you go. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Very light, very distinct from the other one. Now I'm going to be very spontaneous. I want the dark colors to show underneath, and that's what's going to make the shadows like there has been footprints. So yeah, we're covering a lot of the canvas, but it's going to work out. Like over here, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I'm starting to get the vibe. There are some areas that might be lighter in some areas and darker in the other. And that's okay, because sometimes in the sand, you have that. You have the... Gotta tell myself right now, stop! I'm putting too much color. This is also a good technique if you were doing cobblestones. The only thing you would do is be more uniformed with where you're putting these little dashes. And then... you'd be a little more uniform where you put the dashes, and then you change the colors a little bit, and that's basically cobblestones. So I don't know if you can see on the camera. I'm starting to see it. It's coming. So I'm not sure if you're a part of it or not, but I have a Facebook group called Painting Challenge, and it's a group of us, mostly ladies. And we paint. A lot of people have been doing quite a few of these paintings, actually. It's kind of like an everyday for some of the people, like it is for me. Other people, I see that they only are like once a monthers, and that's totally cool. It's fine. I used to be a once a monther. There, you know, I've gone, actually, I did go a couple of years where I did not paint because I didn't, you know, like I got into other things like music and dance, and, you know, that took my time up more. Still not loving the sand. I'm going to go let it dry for a minute, and then I'm going to go again with a little darker color, and I think it'll start popping then. Okay, so I'm gonna go now with this color, and I think this will be the end of the sand. Wish me luck. There we go. Ooh, very sporadic. Okay, I don't want it to appear like I'm doing Morse code and it's dot dot dots. It's very much in the, yeah, liking it. Woo! It's coming. I'm coming. Yep. There we go. I'm pretty much covered all of that dark brown at this point. But I'm still leaving a little bit here and there where you kind of, it shines through. That dark color shines through some of the lighter areas. So it really has a dimension. I'm trying to make it so that the sand looks like there have been people in it. There were birdies. There were Just lots of stuff that happened with this sand. And it's not a perfectly groomed little beach, and it's more natural. Because even when you go to a beach that is natural, just because of the water and, you know, people have trash that goes up on the beach and different little things, you still get the shadows and, you know, the discoloration. I did that. I'm going to go back with some a little bit more highlight because I think I added a little too much. And this is going to be very, very sparse. Very sparsey highlights. Okay, there we go. Just enough to, yeah. Yep. I think this painting, we can put it to a live and a learn. Don't go so dark with the sand right away. A definite live and learn moment. It's working, it's coming. Very blurry. I want the sand to be very, very blurry. Go with some dark. I am kind of mixing on the canvas a little bit. There we go. A little bit of mix on the canvas, not much. Just enough to have a little bit of it. There we go. See how it's blending in together? That's what I'm looking for. Don't overdo it. I just told myself that. Don't overdo it. When you're painting, listen to your conscience. When your conscience says, okay, it's enough, that's when you know that it's enough. Stop. Just make sure that I get all the way around because it was a little light over here. A little bit of blend when it comes to the sand is okay. Just try not to overdo the blend. Just a little bit to give a hint, but we still want indentation of the colors. Remember how I said earlier with the sky, you want a lot of, why I didn't touch over the blue a whole bunch, because I want to have all the different edges and the lines. This is a very impressionistic style of painting. Okay, so now I'm going to wash and clean my brush. I'm going to declare my beach done for the moment. And let's go ahead and add some palm trees. Very, very simple and easy. Every time I teach this class, I've noticed there's always somebody in the class that like stresses out and like really freaks out about it. But really, no. I mean, it's a simple, simple idea. You just have to take a moment, breathe, and think about what you're doing before you apply the paint. Because sometimes I'm sure you find that your mind wanders a little bit. When it comes to this moment, I would suggest don't allow your mind to wander. Now, I am going to start with the darker color. Got a little bit. I'm going to have my square brush. I think the square brush for palm trees works way better. Now I'm going to say this guy is like further off in the distance, so he's going to be a little square. Now I kind of want to do this all in one pass, so I don't want to be overdoing these things a lot. Now I reapply paint, and if you notice, I'm adding little boxes, little tiny boxes. Now they are bigger when you first start, and then towards the top of the tree, they start getting smaller. But they're still kind of big. Now, if you notice, when I do this, I'm starting to get little lines. Some of these boxes are going to be darker than other boxes, and that's okay. We want that. We want to be able to show that there's distinction. Okay, now I'm not going to retouch it up. I'm going to let it be what it is. Less is more on this guy. I'm going to make this guy come around a little bit more. Yeah. Right there. And I kind of didn't do what I said I was going to do by making these guys a little fatter at the bottom. So that's okay. I'm going to go one more time. I can do this at this moment because the paint is still kind of wet. So because of that, it's still allowing me to move the paint around. But the more that the paint dries, the less it's going to let me be able to move it around and still be cohesive. So if you notice, I'm getting little tiny lines. Now, while I'm letting that dry, letting it do its thing, I'm going to go ahead with my other tree. Now, my other tree is going to be more like it's more closer to me. So we're going to start down here. Make sure that your brush is nice and pretty before you start adding the paint. Make sure everything good quality. You put the paint, you loaded the brush properly, and then add the paint. This guy is going to be here. They're going to be big. Remember to be big. And then I'm probably, so you cannot see the sand, have to go over that a couple times. So there's going to be poo right there, and then we're going to do another one right here. I want them to be a little bit smaller. That just means you press less. Pressing less. And there you have it. So what I'm going to do is wash my brush extremely well to get that dark out of there. I also have been using my rag to wipe my brush after I wash it with the water to get the water off. It is drying. It's drying pretty fast because the paint is already dry on my palette since it's been there a while. I'm going to go with my other lighter color. Do the same thing with a pretty square brush. And I'm going to start, and I'm just going to highlight it. Okay, we're not trying to cover up all the stuff we did. Just little areas. Trying to keep the integrity of them lines. Try to keep, ooh. Got a little bit bigger. You could try to fix your tree a little bit. See how I fixed that right there? There we go. I'm going to do the same thing on the other tree. This tree is in front of the other tree, so I really want to show that by overlapping with the color. It's working. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and dry it really well. Okay, so now what we're going to do is add the greenery. I like to use a smaller brush. I'm going to go ahead and use this little pointer guy. And I'm going to get two greens. I'm going to get a dark green. And then I'm also going to get a light green. Now, when you are getting your paint out of these tubes, it's kind of a no-brainer, but remember to keep your stuff closed so that way less oxygen gets in there. Your paint will last longer. And then that way for later you don't whoops and paint goes everywhere. Okay, so with this little guy, I'm going to do several little things. I'm going to go and make a little mountain here. Say like there's a little hill on the island. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a beach, not much, just a little. Go straight up and down, and notice how it pulls the paint, like it adds green, but then it still kind of pulls. which in hindsight probably would have been better if I added the green before I added the brown. But well, we're already here. So this is supposed to be representative that there's like a hill, and it's a green hill, and it's going to be the wet side of the island, meaning that there's more rainfall than the other side of the island, and we're seeing the green part. Because you know how the clouds, they go. Okay, so this is looking good. And I'm going to try to make it go around the edge. Let's go around the edge. And this is another reason why I think it's a really good idea to keep your paint, to have your paint dry as you're going, because see how I just lifted it up without thinking? If my paint was wet, I would have totally smeared it down there, and that's not really the look I was going for. I got a little bit on to my sand and I don't want it, so I'm going to clean my brush. It's wet. I'm going to go in here and kind of wipe off some of that wet paint, wipe it back onto my brush, go into here a little bit. Now normally I just paint over it, but I'm really kind of liking the sand. I think I did a really good job there, so I couldn't want to leave it. So we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to come back to it. I'm going to go ahead now with the palm trees. Now this is another thing too, stare at palm trees a lot, like a whole bunch. Just have a good time hanging out with the trees. So we'll make one here. Now right now I'm just mapping out where these guys are going. I'm going to do one there. And of course we want to balance out the other side. This is also where you can make it look as though there's wind blowing. So normally if this tree was standing up, because there's three going this way, it's basically telling me there's wind. Okay, so that works. I like that. Now let's do the layout over here. Now sometimes it's really good to allow your objects to go off canvas because it's more visually stimulating. And it goes. I'll touch it up later, but it just gives you more to look at. Now if they overlap and run into each other, even better. Now, if I make all of them go to the right, it's going to be like it's a hurricane. But my sky and everything is telling me there is no hurricane. So I am going to have some go to the left. And of course, we always have those little sad dead ones. We'll put another one there, but let's do this for now. Less is more. The eye's going to fill this in a lot. I'm going to go ahead and some of mine that went off the canvas a little bit, I'm going to go and touch it up just a little bit so I can have somewhere to go for when I'm overlapping. If you need to, go ahead and turn your canvas. I try not to turn my canvas a whole lot because I'm videoing, but when I'm painting and I'm not videoing, I actually turn my canvas maybe every minute. It's a little 8x10 canvas, and it's just easier for me. I like to turn it into the ways that will be better for me brushing. Okay, so that works. I'm gonna make this a little prominent. Now, if you are really bad with little tiny brushes and line works, the way that I did it when I was in school, at the university, I had a teacher that required us to use little brushes, and we did this exercise where we just made lines on a sheet of paper with paint. So I used black paint, and on a white sheet of paper, you can use whatever color. The cheap, if you're running out and you got just a little bit left in your your bottle, go ahead and use that paint so you're getting your money's worth out of it. But go up and down, and then side to side, side to side. When you got that good, then make a circle. And like circle, 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 circle. Kind of like very similar to when we were learning how to write ABCs. Very similar techniques to that. And I've noticed for myself that it just seems to, by doing that exercise, I felt like it really helped me to become a better line artist. So anyways, I'm randomly going in here, just random, okay? I mean, random as random can be. Tons of randomness. So the little highlights. Make sure that I go around and I wrap it on the side. Now I think it's good to vary the lengths and the heights of them, because that way otherwise they're going to be long, huge trees, and that's not really something that, it's not just going to be like I don't want it to appear to be like it's a farm of trees. So it's a bunch of randomness. That works, I like it. Okay. Let's see, now we can do many different things. I prefer to use the line brush. You can also use the fan brush. The fan brush is really good for this. But, I mean, geez, I don't know. The fan brush makes it more appear to be mustachy like hair, whereas the line brush is more detailed to each individual little leaf. Now, every leaf has its own little personality. I start with the dark color first. They all have their own personality, but they kind of, in the end, still do their thing. So, I mean, they still kind of like mimic. So the wind is blowing. Just keeping that in mind, I'm going to make these guys. Now I'm just going to go and make them. If they're not perfect little guys, then it's okay, because the wind's blowing. I want this tree to appear as though it's not really been attended, because, I mean, look at it. He's been having some issues. It's good to have a tree and plant in your painting that shows like he's lived a life, and, he's had a happy life, and he's towards the end, and it's been a long one, and he's a little tired. And when you do that, your paintings will start they'll come to life a little bit. They'll feel like they're alive. So a long time ago, I was learning how to draw people with charcoal. And my teacher she was a really good teacher. And I wasn't getting it. I just couldn't feel it. It was very difficult. And so I was painting this painting, and the girl kind of started looking like me a little bit. And I wasn't trying to do that. I was using a reference. But it was still kind of cool. And I was very young at the time. And so it was looking hideous. And after a while, I started feeling like my person was looking like she was dead. And I don't know if you know this, but back in the 1800s, they used to do these portraits when a loved one would die. They would pose the body, and then they would have a family photo. Late 1800s, early 1900s, and they would do a farewell photo, and before they would, they did these in good taste too. I mean, there's a lot of good photos out there of good taste, and that's what I started feeling like. I started feeling like this gal just she was dead, and she had been posed. So then my teacher comes over, mind you, a class full of people, and she goes, she takes my pencil, and then she makes the person pregnant. And I was 15 at the time, so being that young was kind of, ooh, and then the face looked like me, and it was oh my goodness, this is what it's gonna look like when I actually do have a baby. But by doing that one little simple fantasy, that little change, and having it, because I was trying to make this Barbie doll character. I was trying to, really make the lines flattering and everything. But she made the body pregnant, and then, which forced me to have to make the butt bigger because, you know, we swell up during pregnancy to make it realistic. So then it caused me to do all these things. Then I had to make the feet not so pointy and pretty because, you know, we're all swollen during that time. And I mean, I had toxemia when my daughter was born, so I was pretty fat. I gained 100 pounds in my pregnancy. That was mostly, like, a lot of it was water weight. So it forced me to do all these other things. But then when I started doing all that stuff, I then realized that she just came alive. When I put reality in there and I put little things that people, boys would say are what make girls ugly and little flaws, she ended up starting to become more pretty and more real. And to this day, it's one of the best pieces I've ever done. I mean, that painting is, well, it's a drawing in charcoal. I mean, I'm really proud of it. I have it, I framed it, and it's in my bedroom because, you know, she's naked. And she looks like me. She's not supposed to be me. I had no intentions of being me. I really was not trying to draw myself. But also, in the attempt of doing that, my teacher also had me staring at a mirror to try to, like, about shadows and the way that light bounces off and everything. And so I think that's really where that came from. But so it's a drawing that I'm not like, hey guys, you need to see this. But let me tell you, when it comes to branches and trees, flowers, put those little things that we would think of as imperfections. So if you see these lines, not all my lines are super perfect. I mean, this is also a study and practicing in line work. As I go, my paint's going to get a little thicker. I can mist it with water, and by misting it with a micro mist, it kind of adds some more water to it and it'll thin it out a little. But I'm not trying to do that at the moment. The more that you go over and make the lines, the bushier they're going to get. If you notice, some of my leaves are a little bit darker than other leaves. You kind of want that. You want to have the leaves to have their own little personality. If you can get some to overlap other objects, your painting you're gonna be so much cooler. But it has to overlap if it's natural, and it would. Like, I want this to overlap, but I gotta make it make sense, right? So I'm gonna go over one time, and I'm gonna allow it to, I got like spaces going on here. Oh, I might have some overlapping. But I wanna see how these are gonna go first. Once I get these all over, I'm gonna go back again, and I'm going to make them a little bit fluffier. Oh, overlapping. Also, when you overlap, try to paint the far away first. It'll happen naturally, but you got to think about it. I want this tree to be in front, so I painted this thing last. I painted all this first, and then this last, so it gets those clean, crisp edges. So that's going to overlap right there, but I still want to paint these and fix it and touch it up some more. So I'm not going to really make it overlap right now until I got this one really done, and then I'll go back over. And then I'll work on that and then I'll make that leaf really good. So that works. This is one of the reasons why I think the liner brush in this would be a little bit better to get this look. The look would change a little bit differently and be more like a man's beard, or, well, a mustache, if I use the other, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm just a little tired. Can you tell? A little tired. I had a busy day today being mommy. This is going to overlap a little. Just going to put reference. Not going to work on that so much right now. Now also, if you have the opportunity to look at palm trees before you paint, like in life, I would recommend doing that. Today I painted clouds, and today I spent the day looking in the car, looking at the clouds. So if you can, with the palm trees, stare at them. And I did hang out in California for quite a bit when I was little, and I noticed that there's a lot of palm trees out there. There's a whole bunch of different varieties, and they all have their unique little appearance. So in a way, you can use that as an artistic license and then make up your own little tree. I mean, I think you still should probably follow basic ideas of like what the palm tree looks like, so that way it registers to the average person that that's what that is. I hate it when I paint a painting and I spend all this time and effort and then my husband doesn't know what it is. When he takes the moment. I mean, I'm getting better. It's going to overlap there. But yeah, it happens. After all these years, duds happen. They really do. Yeah, it takes, so you have to practice and go through the journey to get the good stuff. 70% of your art's going to be crap. 30% of it's going to be good, but you'll never get there if you didn't do that first 70%. And it's still happening to me. I've painted a lot of palm trees. And I have my own little handwriting. And I have my little way that I do the palm trees. And I like how I do my little palm trees. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to just fill it in a little bit. It's a little filler. Not too much though. I still want to see sky. I want to see that they're individual leaves. Now, if you want your tree to appear that it's a little bit more dead, you can add a little bit of yellows and browns. Because really in nature, if they're untended trees, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see that. Okay, so that works. Let's fill in this guy over here. Don't you just love painting? I really do. It's my happy little day where the kid ain't bugging me, the husband ain't bugging me. I don't have to answer to anybody. I just do my thing and hang out. I do have to make time for it though. Like, I really have to. Like, I'm painting, people. Leave me alone. Usually I like to put the kid to bed, and then while she's sleeping, and my husband, he works graveyard, so then I have like a quiet time. I got about 2 hours before he shows up. That's usually about my time because, you know, I don't want to be noisy. The kid's sleeping. But like, I don't want to be in front of the TV. And usually by that time of the night, I have all my little chores of life done. And it's not like in front of the bank or anything. So that's kind of how I started painting again. My little quiet thing. I used to read books, but then I started it with a lot of books. So it's coming. Now, I do recommend if you're painting to try to paint in natural light. Natural light is better than artificial light. Right now, for me, I was fortunate enough. The kid doesn't have school today. They're doing an in-service day, so she's hanging out, having a good time. She already did her homework. I fed her. She's watching TV right now. I don't let her watch a lot of TV, but you know, she's hanging out being a teenager. She's 13. She don't want to play with her toys anymore. So, yeah, she don't want to hang out with me. I like to paint with her too. But I'm trying to make these for my little art business so I can have them on the wall. So when I teach my painting classes, they're prototypes. So I really need to focus. Oh, right here, overlapping, it happened. Yay, we get it to happen naturally. That's what we need. Yes. The more overlapping you do, the more your painting is just going to have a more 3D effect and appear to be more natural. And be careful when you're doing these so that you really, there's difference. You know, you see that each leaf has its own little personality. So don't just try to make like a big rectangle, which when I first started doing these, that would happen to me, where they would turn into rectangles. If it does happen to you where you Or like, ooh, what was I thinking? Like right here, I was, oh, why did I do that? Let the paint dry. Stop what you're doing. Take a moment. Let it dry completely. Walk away. Paint some other part of the painting. Come back to it later and then you'll see, oh, okay, that's what I should have done there. And then it's going to happen. Don't keep fussing with it because then it's just not going to work out. Okay, so I got one more little guy. Really, palm trees are quite fun. They just take patience, and I think that's really been the biggest thing for me in painting, is working on patience. It don't happen right away. It takes time, and you build it up. Have you seen me do, people? It takes time. Okay, so this is working out pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and dry it because I'm going to have some other leaves in here. And I don't really want them to blend a whole lot because I'm kind of trying to make this more pop art than actually looking like a photograph. I don't want this to look like a photograph. I want it to look like a painting. So I'm going to go ahead and dry it. Okay, so I'm going to go back in with my bright green. I'm going to wash off my brush really good. This is what the color of what my water looks like right now. Yours should probably be around similar. If it's a darker color, I recommend washing it. I kind of should empty out my water right now, but I'm really kind of towards the end of this painting here, so I think I can make it a little bit. Also, a thing that people don't think about a whole lot is when you're dumping your paint down the sink, like I have a bathroom, so it's not like an industrial sink, I'm diluting my paint. As I'm going to do these sparingly. These are just going to be random highlights, and I'm going to find areas that I don't like, little things that I'm like, oh, that needs fixed, and that's when I'm going to use my highlight to fix it. So when you're diluting your paint, try to, when you're dumping it down the drain, dilute it with some water because, so it gets cloggy and thick. And I mean, really, honestly, I'm painting every day. So that's when I'm going to really see an issue. But if you're painting like once a week or something, it's not really that big of a deal. You're not going to kill your sink. I haven't. I have not really killed my sink ever. But I do it more as precaution, I guess, because I don't want to go fix my sink. I'm too lazy. So I'm just going here to little areas that I'm like, ooh, what was I thinking? Fix it. Little highlights. Less is more when it comes to highlights. If you have to rotate your canvas. Make it easier for you so that way you get those swooshes. You want them to be uniform, but yet still kind of have a personality of their own so that they're uniquely their own little swoosh. Now, if you notice that I'm talking and I'm going in different directions here, I'm not really counting the leaves. I'm just letting them happen where they feel like they need to happen. So don't be going like every other leaf. You could, if you wanted to. I just, for me, don't think that I would like that look. It would look a little bit like a little kid did it, and I'm a grown adult. So I don't want that look. Picasso was into it. I'm not. So I'm just, everywhere that I think I can touch it up. Little highlights. Less is more. Now, if you wanted to, somebody asked me a question, you can go totally psychedelic. If you don't have to stick in this color palette. You know, you can have fun, do your own thing, enjoy it, live a little. Now right here, since it overlapped, it's a little dark, I will use the highlight because it, oh geez, see, I overdid it. Oh well, I can come back with some darker green, but the highlight kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. That's really what I want. Just want these little guys to, hi there, oh, whoops, got the dark color. I got dark color back onto my brush a little bit there. I'm gonna touch that up. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna get that dark color back off and wash my brush. I'm starting to look at my sky and think, you know what? I probably should have gone through it a second time and blended a little bit more. See, this is why we're doing this. We're doing this because we're working, we're seeing what works, what doesn't work. Hoping that every one of our paintings are amazing. But what I'm noticing here is I'm not too happy. I'm probably going to put a cloud there. Yeah, I think the next time I'm going to blend my sky just a little bit more. That's okay. These things happen. I am kind of a little far in my painting to go back. I mean, I could, but oh, it's so painstakingly like long to do all that. I don't want to go with my little tiny brush and fix it. So just going to let it be and let it have its life, and that's what it is. We'll just say that this is more of an abstract, modern painting. And you know, those sell, actually. When I do my street fairs and I have my booth and everything, and like, I don't really like selling in galleries a whole lot because I'm not there to sell the piece. And I don't really trust people a whole lot when it comes to that. I've had some of my paintings get like not sold and destroyed, and then it's happened to me where they sold a painting and then I find out that the people go and like they go on my website or whatever and congratulate me, and then they're like, and then in the talking it's like, wait a minute, you paid how much for that painting? And I'm like, and then I get all frustrated because I'm like, what? And they tell me they only sold it for less money. So when it comes to business, I'd just rather do it all myself. And I found that I get more bang for my buck if I'm just there and have my booth. It just seems to, especially if you're in places. I'm fortunate enough to live in an area that has a summer market that brings out like a lot of people. So yeah, I just go once, twice a year. Good, get it over with all at once. I tend to have better luck that way. People, when they buy paintings, they kind of like it to know and see the artist and talk to the artist. That's kind of a thing. Okay, so we're going to go with some coconuts now. I'm going to go with my darkest color. I'm still using my little tiny brush. Now, when it's always easy to add paint, it's hard to take away paint. So I'm going to try to make these guys a little small. Oh, you know what? It's still dry, wet a little bit. And I kind of do need it to be dry. Otherwise, my coconuts are going to start turning a little green, which is kind of what I want. But I wanted these coconuts to appear that they're ready to fall off. So I want them brown. So go ahead and make sure your painting is all the way dry. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and load up my brush. I do kind of want my paint to be a little thick. It's alright if it's thick. It's going to work. I just want it to be thick on the edge though. Okay. So here we go. Now we kind of find a spot that we're not super happy with, that we're like, eh. Now I recommend to try to get these ovally and round. More round than oval, but a little bit of oval is okay. So this guy, he's gonna live right here. I think I might put a second one, but we'll see. I'm gonna make this guy, he's gonna be up high. Yeah. Oops, I think my paint is a little too thick. Yep, my paint was a little too thick, but if I wipe it off, it's gonna smear. So we're just gonna let that be what it is. A little dry. Then we're gonna make another one. We'll give him a buddy. Right? Ugh, too thick, too thick. And make him so he's an extra little, yeah. Make sure we've got that all rounded. And then we're gonna do a little ploppy plop over here. And I wanna make sure that each little ploppy plop has its own little ploppiness. And that it's very uniquely different ploppy than the other one. So lots of squares, or lots of circles. So I'm gonna just make one more little guy, because see how I didn't adjoin all my lines? This is how I go and I cover all my little, too much. It's okay, you can wipe it before it dries. If you wipe it before it dries, it'll be all fine. Now, it does happen. It has happened to me where the coconuts start looking like boys' coconuts. And that happens. We're gonna try to avoid that look because that's not really what we're going for. See how I'm blending it? There, we erased it. And I'm gonna go back in. Oh, I don't have enough. Okay. Then I'm gonna try to make this guy, I want him to be a little lower. So there we have it. We've covered up the so now they look like they've all kind of coming together. We're gonna give that a minute to dry because it's gonna take forever to dry. And we'll touch it up with some other colors to try to be more 3D. But in the meantime, we have other things that we can do. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm not digging this sky over here. I'm gonna make another cloud. Plus what it's gonna do is these lines that I've created, it's gonna kinda hide them a little bit. There we go. It's coming. It's looking. Well, let's do one more. We'll do one more. Da-da, clouds. Oh, I'm breaking it up, breaking it up. There we go. Like it, love it, that's great. Okay, so I noticed that this is not really hilly. It's just kind of like one hill, which it seems more like a campy type hill. So because of that, I'm gonna extend a little bit up here to make it a little higher. Just to give it more of like a We're not seeing the whole entire island, but yeah, we can tell that it's like beginning to be like a little mountain over there. There we go. And mountain it is. Now it should dry a little bit, but for the sake of time, because of the video, I'm just gonna go ahead and add little tiny highlights as randomness. There we go. That works. I like it. Okay, so now I was looking at the water, and we didn't go as high as I was planning to go originally. So I'm going to go ahead in with my turquoise and kind of add a little bit more random to get this kind of to come down a little bit. Make sure we get some on the side. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want to lighten up my water just a little bit because I want it to be more watery. So I'm going to go in with some white and with my blue. Now remember what I said about reserving space on your palette? This is why. Okay, I add what? Paint. I just add some white. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of paint here. I kind of put a little bit too much on my palette. Little bit of blue, okay? I start with a tiny bit of blue first, mix that in, see how I like it. If I want the blue to get darker, then I add more blue. But really, less at first, and then you work it in, which is cute. This is a fun little baby blue. I'm liking it. And see how I'm really mixing it to get all those white streaks out and to really get it so that it's a solid blue. Okay, I'm going to wash my brush a little bit because I want a nice pretty straight point. So I'm going to wipe it off, go back into the blue. Now I have it loaded up pretty and my brush is pointy. And then I'm going to find some little areas and do some little highlights. There you go. Little highlights. Little guys. Okay. Little highlights. Little highlights. Okay, I'm going to blend them in a little bit. Okay, I'm going to take all of the paint off of my brush now that I've applied the paint, and I'm going to blend. Blend, blend, blend. Okay, then I'm going to go back in with my blue, just a little bit, and break up some of the spaces I don't like. Some of the areas that I'm like, ooh, I didn't really do that good. And just like I did with the sand. The more you work at it, the more 3D it's going to appear. I'm not going to work at it a whole lot because I still want this to be kind of cartoony. That's what I'm really going for. So just enough to be what it is. I mean, don't over fuss things. Like, remember how when I did the sand, I was just too fussy with it? Don't do that to yourself. Enjoy the process. Have a good time. Don't make it all stressy. The more randomer you make it, the better and cooler this painting is going to come out. It'll be awesome. Just blend those back in. There we go. See how it's coming along? Breaking it up a little bit. Some of those, remember how we had the turquoise earlier that kind of turned out more green? There we go. Perfect. That's good. I like it. It works. Okay. So, now we're here. What awesome cool thing could we do? We could put a person. That'd be cool. But what if we put like a little boat? That'd be fun. I don't think I've done a boat in quite some time. Let's do a boat. Okay. These still have to dry. I'm not done with them yet. Still needs drying time. You know, we could add some water, because this was supposed to, the original concept was that this is kind of a hill and you got to go down to get to the beach, just like you have to over here, you have to go down. That was the original intention. But maybe we could add some water, and if we do that, it changes our perspective. It'll change, because this is why. This is very cliffy. This is right to the edge. There's more going on. Obviously, there wouldn't be. But over here, maybe I could add some white. So, in order to do that, I'm going to go with my handy dandy knife. And I still have some white here. Notice how I kept the white, the light blue, the dark blue, the white. This is why I don't need to use the whole palette plate to mix my colors. I'm going to go back, take a little bit of white, not a lot. And I'm going to so that way over there, it's going to appear as though there's a whole bunch of waves and stuff going on over there, off in the distance. Nope. Try not to mess with it too much. Let it be what it is. Don't overanalyze your painting. Now, if you are trying to do realism and make it look like a photograph, like you're really there, then yeah, overanalyze your painting. But I'm not. That's not my style. Okay. So that works. We can put some birds too. That would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this fully. I suggest that you do the same before we put the boat in. Okay, so with our boat, very simple, don't overthink it. When it comes to the boat, let less is more, because it's going to be off in the distance so we don't see a whole lot of detail. The closer the boat is to you, the more detail you're going to want to see. Now right now I'm going to take my little skinny brush and I'm going to get some white. And I'm just going to do the rough outline. Now, I like to start my boat off small and then work it bigger until I feel like it's a good height. I'm not going to do it on the horizon line. Do not do that. I mean, unless it, and then it's a little guy all the way out there. Because this is pretty far, right? So we're going to go here. And we're going to we're going to say that this boat is coming in for the day. We're going to go above the horizon line. Do you see what I'm doing? See why I'm doing that for overlapping? It's going to be a rather large sailboat. So in life, this sailboat would be gigantically huge. Now there's like ropes and all kinds of stuff going on here, but since it's even, yes, it's big, but it's so far away, we're not going to see the little detail of the people on the boat and all the ropes. I mean, they're smaller than the people. If we can't see the people, we can't see the ropes. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. I'm going to still touch it up and work on it, but for right now I'm liking that, so I'm just going to let it dry. Less is more when it comes to painting. So now I'm going to make the bottom part. Let's go with the lighter brown. You can really do whatever brown you want with this. I'm just going to go lighter because it is daytime. And I'm going to make this guy really simple, okay? We're like less is more here. You know what? Don't like it too big. Okay, so I'm going to wash my brush. It's clean. Wipe off the paint, the chunk of paint, because I added a lot of paint. Wipe it off with my thing. Wipe it off. Add a little bit of water into the paint, and do you see how I'm pulling it slowly, little bit at a time? That's how you erase when you paint. But you got to get it quick before it dries. If you don't get it quick before it dries, forget it. You know, that's actually kind of working. I'm kind of digging it. I'm going to go with a little darker color to make a tad bit of shadow, like there's stuff going on in the boat. Yeah. Just like there's a little, they're going to go back in the light brown, touched it up, I added too much brown. Just to make it look like the boat's got some stuff happening to it. Back into the dark brown. Try not to blend too much because these little indents of different colors are going to show character. Okay, so, you know, I'm really liking the boat. I'm going to say that, yeah, it's coming in. It's not super windy because we can see the trees aren't super windy, so therefore the mast isn't going to be like they kind of let it out a little bit. They're trying to just kind of hang out there. So that works. They could either be letting it down. I mean, you obviously don't make it like a triangle. I mean, you could, but then we're looking at like really, you know, we want to have like it's either the boat is turned a little, they're putting it down, they're putting it up. We just don't want a straight triangle because even if there's wind in it, which there should be wind in it, so it would still be kind of rounded. I'm liking it. Let's add a little birdie. We can add a couple. I like to do prime numbers. So right now we have focal points of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do need a bird. We could, and also when you do your focal points, try to make sure you have triangles. 1, 2, 3. And this is a line. I need to break up this line. So either I need a bird up here, because then 1, 2, 3. It's too busy. It's too heavy. I don't want too many focal points on one side. If we divide it in half, I've got, these are in the middle, 1 and 1. So I guess it's okay, but this focal point kind of comes down here, so it brings the eye, and there's not really much going on over here. So it would be better if the bird was on this side of the canvas. I could put him like he's here. Also, when it comes to, ooh, it could be here, like he's island hopping. He's going from this island to this island. That would be a great idea. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a little black because I'm going to make him a seagull. So I just need the smallest little bit of, and I think I'm just going to put one little bird, you know, use, or I don't know, you could put 2. I do always like it when they have buddies. But do we see that a whole lot in nature? I mean, yes, we'll see like a flock together. Also, if you're trying to sell paintings, I've noticed that if you put some sort of emotion of like love, that there's, like there's two birdies, those paintings tend to sell a little bit better, faster. So I'm going to go to where I don't like it. This line, I hate this line, but it's got to kind of make sense with the other lines. So we're going to, let's break this up somewhere. Let's put him here. Okay, so you can check mark it, or you can em it. I'm choosing to em it. I made an M. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll put another coat on it, and it'll look really cool. Less is more too, because I want him to appear that he's there, but he's not. Now they could be buddies, but you know, human and bird. I could put my other little guy here. Yeah, let's put another one here. But we're gonna make this guy a little smaller. He's more off into the distance. They're together, but yet they're still individuals. I'm towards the end of my paint here. It's kind of a good problem to have. Okay, so little m. Could be, and then it can be interpreted mama and baby, husband and wife. It's a lot of different ways. I mean, are they even going in the same direction? Could they be going in opposite directions from each other? So there's a lot of interpretations there. Okay, so just for the video, I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so now we're going to go back into our white. We're going to clean the brush really well so you don't get gray. Impressionistic style. I'm going to get some white, being careful not to pick up any of that blue. And I'm going to add more white on this side and just a little bit on that side. Take your time and breathe. Okay, so what kind of happened is my sky is too light. So it's really not showing up. This technique turns out better when your sky is a little bit darker. And my sky is too light. I'm going to go back and touch it up a little bit. I'm going to give a tiny little body, not much, okay, not much, a little tiny, tiny body. There we go, just going to leave it. Less is more. I want the eye to fill this stuff in. I kind of wish that line was a little bit more skinnier, actually. There we go, a little skinnier. go too much. Okay, let it go. Let it go too much. I'm overthinking, overanalyzing. I don't want to be doing that. Okay. So I'm pretty much, for the most part, done. I was going to do some waves, but the more I look at the trees, the more I'm thinking, no, they're on a hill. The waves are like totally on a hill. I mean, it's a hill. So because of that, no, I'm not going to add. We don't see the break of the water yet. Now, this tree bugging me. I hate it. I hate that I globbed it up too much. I put them too high. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten this up. I'm going to take some of my white and I'm going to take some of this and mix it in. I'm not really going to need this brown color anymore, so I can go ahead and just use that. It did take some of the blue, so I added some blue, but it's okay because the brown is really overpowering. So I lightened up this color quite a bit. I'm gonna make sure that I have a nice pretty point again and go back into here. Now I'm just gonna use this as a highlight, okay? Just as a, oh, look at that. Like the sun is just barely hitting these guys. I'm going to go in with some of my medium brown. I feel like I added too much highlight, so I'm going to go with my medium brown, kind of go in there and just give these guys some character. So yeah. I'm not liking these little thingies over here. Don't like them. I'm going to consider that a fail. But that's the gist. That's the basic idea, right? What I'm going to need to do is to get the green to go back over them. The problem is I globbed the paint way too much. So it's the look, and then it's also the look and the functionality. The functionality is just, if I go over that with green, what's going to happen is it's, you're not going to really see. You're not going to really, the leaves just won't be they won't be leafy. They're going to be round and icky and fail. Oh, total fail. But this is what I said. Remember earlier how I said 70% of your stuff's going to be crap and you got to go through the journey? So now I know next time, don't let my paint get that thick. That's what I've learned. I hope you've learned something in this process. Please write your comments down below and let me know what you think. Also, if you've been painting along, can you please take a photo and put it in the comments under this video, or maybe post it in the group? It's called Painting Challenge and it's on Facebook. It's the picture of it is a painting palette with some brushes in between the thumb hole. So please go check that out. I post stuff all the time, every day. I try not to spam it at all. It's really just the one painting for the day and some inspiration. So this is a good one. I liked it. It was great. It was good. Definitely not my favorite painting, but yeah, no, there's some really cute parts I like. So I like the boat. I like the water. I think the sand came out good. Not really digging this part right here. And then the other thing I think that what I've learned from this event is blend a second. Go with a dry brush a second time to blend out the sky a little bit more so there's not so many lines. So this one, I think I'm going to put it in the for sale pile. So I hope you had fun today. And at the end of the video, I always like to remind everybody, take a moment today and go tell the people you love them that you love them. Hug them, do a gesture, spend time with them. You never know when the next time you're going to see them is, and if you'll ever see them again in this life. So take a moment to love them. And until next time, have a good time. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Push the purple flower to subscribe and you can watch all kinds of awesome videos.